Our scene opens in a small place called Kaput, near Berlin, in Germany, close to a decade before the outbreak of the Second World War. At about 4 o'clock, on the 14th of July 1930, Rabindranath Tagore walked up a hilltop towards a brown wooden house with a red tiled roof, the home of Albert Einstein. Rabindranath Tagore wore a blue kaftan. As he walked up, he leaned a little forward. Einstein watched from his porch with a welcoming smile. They met and had tea on the balcony. The only barrier between them was the barrier of language. Einstein's mastery of English was not enough for comfortable conversation. Tagore did not know German, but the sympathy was palpable. It was interesting to see them together. Tagore, the poet with the head of a thinker, and Einstein, the thinker with the head of a poet. The poet was visibly absorbed in his own mystical universe. He spoke with a majestic tranquility, his slim fingers moving with his words, matching the gleam in his eyes. Einstein listened with studious attention before giving his own personal views. Neither insisted on his case. They merely exchanged ideas. Listen to the essence of the conversation they had on the nature of reality.
You have been busy hunting down with mathematics the ancient entities space and time, while I have been lecturing in this country on the eternal world of man, the world of reality.
Do you believe in the divine as isolated from the world?
Not isolated. The infinite personality of man comprehends the universe.
There are two different conceptions about the nature of the universe. The world as a unity dependent on humanity. Two, the world as a reality independent of the human factor.
When our universe is in harmony with man, the eternal, we realize it as truth. We feel it as beauty.
This is the purely human conception of the universe.
There can be no other conception. The world is a human world. The scientific view of it is also that of the scientific man. There is some standard of reason and enjoyment which gives it truth. The standard of the eternal man, whose experiences are through our experiences.
But this is the realization of the human entity.
Yes, one eternal entity. We have to realize it through our emotions and activities. Science is concerned with that which is not confined to individuals. It is the impersonal, human world of truth.
Truth, then, or beauty, is not independent of man.
No.
If there be no human beings anymore, the Apollo of Belvedere would no longer be beautiful.
No.
I agree with regard to this conception of beauty, but not with regard to truth.
Why not? Truth is realized through man.
I cannot prove that my conception is right, but that is my religion. I cannot prove scientifically that truth must be conceived as a truth that is valid independent of humanity. But I believe it firmly. I believe, for instance, that the Pythagorean theorem in geometry states something that is approximately true, independent of the existence of man.
Truth, which is one with the universal being, must essentially be human. Otherwise, whatever we individuals realize as true cannot be called truth. At least the truth which is described as scientific and which can be reached only through a process of logic. In other words, by an organ of thoughts which is human. The nature of truth which we are discussing is an appearance. That is to say, what appears to be true to the human mind, and therefore is human, and may be called Maya or illusion.
So, according to your conception, which may be the Indian conception, it is not the illusion of the individual, but of humanity as a whole. The problem begins whether truth is independent of our consciousness. Even in our everyday life, we feel compelled to ascribe a reality independent of man to the objects we use. We do this to connect the experience of our senses in a reasonable way. For instance, if nobody is in this house, yet the table remains where it is.
Yes, it remains outside the individual mind, but not the universal mind. The table which I perceive is perceptible by the same kind of consciousness which I have.
If nobody would be in the house, the table would exist all the same. But this is already illegitimate from your point of view, because you cannot explain what it means that the table is there, independent of us. Our natural point of view in regard to the existence of truth apart from humanity cannot be explained or proved, but is a belief which nobody can lack. No primitive beings, even, who attribute to truth a superhuman objectivity. It is indispensable for us, this reality which is independent of our existence and our experience and our mind, though we cannot say what it means.
Science has proved that the table as a solid object is an appearance. And therefore that which the human mind perceives as a table would not exist if the mind were not. At the same time, it must be admitted the fact that the ultimate physical reality is nothing but a multitude of revolving centers of electric force, is also that of the scientific mind. In the apprehension of truth, there is an eternal conflict between the universal human mind and the same mind confined in the individual. The perpetual process of reconciliation is being carried out in our science, philosophy, in our ethics. In any case, if there be any truth absolutely unrelated to humanity, then for us it is absolutely non-existing. It is not difficult to imagine a mind to which sequence of things happens not in space but only in time, like the sequence of notes in music. For such a mind, such conception of reality is akin to the musical reality in which Pythagorean theorem can have no meaning. There is the reality of paper, infinitely different from the reality of literature. For the kind of mind possessed by the moth which eats that paper, literature is absolutely non-existent. Yet, for man's mind, literature has a greater value of truth than the paper itself. In a similar manner, if there be some truth which has no sensuous or rational relation to the human mind, it will ever remain as nothing so long as we remain human beings.
Then I am more religious than you are.
They met again on the 19th of August 1930 at the house of a common friend, Dr. Mendel, and they discussed the youth movement in Germany before Tagore broached the question of chance and necessity. Eventually, the conversation between Tagore and Einstein turned to music.
I was discussing with Dr. Mendel today the new mathematical discoveries which tell us that in the realm of infinitesimal atoms, chance has its play. The drama of existence is not absolutely predetermined in character.
The facts that make science tend towards this view do not say goodbye to causality.
Maybe not, but it appears that the idea of causality is not in the elements, but that some other force builds up with them an organized universe.
One tries to understand how the order is in the higher plane. The order is there where the big elements combine and guide existence. But in the minute elements, this order is not perceptible.
This duality is in the depths of existence. The contradictions of free impulse and the directive which works upon them and evolves an orderly scheme of things.
Modern physics would not say they are contradictory. Clouds look as one from a distance, but if one sees them near, they show themselves as disorderly drops of water.
I find this analogy in human psychology. Our passions and desires are unruly, but our character subdues these elements into a harmonious whole. Is it analogous to this in the physical world? Are the elements rebellious, dynamic, and with individual impulse? And is there a principle in the physical world which dominates them and puts them into an orderly organization?
Even the elements are not without statistical order. Elements of radium will always maintain the specific order, now and ever onward, just as they have done all along. There is then a statistical order in the elements.
Otherwise, the drama of existence would be too desultory. It is this constant harmony of chance and determination which makes it eternally new and living.
I believe that whatever we do or live for has its causality. It is good, however, that we cannot look through it.
There is in human affairs an element of elasticity, some freedom within a small range, which is for the expression of our personality. It is like the musical system in India, which is not rigidly fixed as in Western music. Our composers give a certain definite outline, a system of melody and rhythmic arrangement, and within a certain limit, the player can improvise upon it. We praise the composer for his genius in creating a foundation along with a superstructure of melodies. But we expect from the player his own skill in the creation of variations of a melodic flourish and ornamentation.
That is only possible where there is a strong artistic tradition in music to guide the people's minds. In Europe, the music has come too far away from popular art and popular feeling and has become something like a secret art with conventions and traditions of its own.
So you have to be absolutely obedient to this very complicated music?
It requires a very high standard of art fully to realize the great idea in the original music so that one can make variations upon it. In our country, the variations are often prescribed.
In our music, there is a duality of freedom and prescribed order.
Are the words also free? I mean to say, Is the singer at liberty to add his own words in the melody which he is singing?
Yes, in Bengal we have a kind of song, kirtan we call it, which gives freedom to the singer to introduce parenthetical phrases as he sings the song.
ওহে জীবন বল্লভ ওহে সাধন দুর্লভ ওহে জীবন বল্লভ আমি মর্মের কথায় অন্তর ব্যথা কিছুই নাহি কব শুধু জীবন মন চরণে দিনু বুঝিয়ালহ সব দিনু চরণ তলে কথা যা ছিল দিনু চরণ তলে
কথা যা ছিল দিনু চরণ তলে
প্রাণের বোঝা বুঝেলাম দিনু চরণ তলে
প্রাণের বোঝা বুঝিলাম দিনু চরণ তলে
শুধু জীবন মন চরণে দিনু বুঝিয়ালহ সব আমি কি আর কব ওহে জীবন বল্লভ ওহে সাধন দুর্লভ ওহে জীবন বল্লভ
This occasions great enthusiasm as the audience is constantly thrilled by some beautiful spontaneous sentiment freshly added to the song by the singer, phrases which had not been there in the original song.
Can the Indian music be sung without words? Can one understand a song without words?
Yes, we have songs with unmeaning words, sounds which just help to act as carriers of the notes. We have two different kinds of songs in India. In Bengal, poems and music combine with each other. In the northwest of India, they have often songs with unmeaning or insignificant words. The idea is supplied by the music, the words remaining passive. In Bengal, the words and the musical notes meet halfway and continue in the organic creation of a song.
নিশিদিন মোর পরাণে নিশিদিন মোর পরাণে প্রিয়তম মাম কত না বেদনা দিয়ে বারতা পাঠালে নিশিদিন মোর পরাণে
In Greece, there has been like what you have in Bengal, music with poems.
In North India, music is an independent art, not the interpretation of words and thoughts. The music is very intricate and subtle and is a complete world of melody by itself.
It is not polyphonous.
Instruments are used not for harmony but for keeping time with the music and for adding to the volume and depth.
European music is not older than 400 years. It was only from then that music, polyphonous music, has been introduced.
Has melody suffered in your music by the imposition of harmony?
Sometimes it does suffer very much. Sometimes the harmony swallows up the melody altogether.
Melody and harmony are like lines and colors in pictures. A simple linear picture may be completely beautiful. The introduction of color may make it vague and insignificant. Yet color may, by combination with lines, create great pictures, so long as it does not smother and destroy their values.
It is a beautiful comparison. The line is also much older than the color. It seems that the structure of your melody is much richer than here. Japanese music seems to be so.
It is so difficult to analyze the effect of Eastern and Western music on our minds. I feel deeply moved by Western music. I feel that it is great, that it is vast in its structure and grand in its composition. Our own music touches me more deeply by its fundamental lyrical appeal. European music is epic in character. It has a broad background and is Gothic in its structure.
Yes, that is very true.
This music is immense. I can never forget how much I was affected by its power. Once, when a Hungarian lady played on her violin some pieces from music, both classical and modern.
When did you first hear European music?
At 17. I first came to know it intimately when I came to Europe. But even before that time, I had heard European music in our household. I'd heard the music of Chopin and others at an early age.
The difficulty is that the really good music, whether of the East or the West, cannot be analyzed.
Yes. And what deeply affects the hearer is beyond himself.
The same uncertainty would always be there about everything fundamental in our experience, in our reaction to art, whether in Europe or in Asia. Even the red flower I see before me on your table may not be the same to you and me.
And yet, there is always going on the process of reconciliation between them. The individual taste conforming to the universal standard.
Yes, the individual and the universal. This was also the theme of a beautiful poem by Tagore, rendered by William Radice as Unending Love.
I seem to have loved you in numberless forms, numberless times, in life after life, in age after age, forever. My spellbound heart has made and remade the necklace of songs that you take as a gift. Wear round your neck in your many forms, in life after life, in age after age, forever. Whenever I hear old chronicles of love, its age-old pain, its ancient tale of being apart or together, as I stare on and on into the past, in the end, you emerge, clad in the light of a pole star, piercing the darkness of time. You become an image of what is remembered forever. You and I have floated here on the stream that brings from the fount, at the heart of time, love of one for another. We have played alongside millions of lovers, shared in the same shy sweetness of meeting, the same distressful tears of farewell. Old love, but in shapes that renew and renew forever. Today it is heaped at your feet. It has found its end in you. the love of all man's days, both past and forever. Universal joy, universal sorrow, universal life. The memories of all loves merging with this one love of ours, and the songs of every poet, past and forever.